How about Portland, Oregon, where it looks like a war zone?
Now at noon, President Trump doubles down on his promise to deploy National Guard troops to Portland. Coming up, a look at what that mobilization will actually look like. Plus,
there's a new clock ticking on Capitol Hill for just how long this government shutdown will last. I'm Alice Barr in Washington. Coming up, we'll have the latest state of play as Republicans and Democrats try to get past finger pointing to figure out how to get out of this mess.
And later, world-famous chimpanzee researcher Jane Goodall dies at the age of 91, just a few months after her most recent visit here to Portland. We'll take a look back at her life and her legacy. KGW News at noon starts right now.
We understand that we'll be doing some federal facility protection, some federal employee protection activities, but that's about all we know at this time.
That is Lieutenant Colonel Charles Patzner, Task Force Commander with the Oregon National Guard, speaking about the Guard's expected deployment here to Portland at some point this week. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Drew Carney. About 90 minutes ago, President Trump posted on Truth Social saying, quote, "The National Guard is now in place in Oregon." That being said, we can tell you that members of the Guard are not yet in place around the ICE facility located near Portland's south waterfront. Getting back to his post on Truth Social, President Trump said he activated the Guard this past Saturday and claimed that conditions have since, quote, "deteriorated into lawless mayhem." The president followed that by saying Oregon Governor Tina Kotek is, quote, "living in a dream world," and called Portland a, quote, "never-ending disaster" that he compared to a third world country. The Oregon Attorney General's office is suing to block the Guard's deployment. A hearing on the lawsuit is set for Friday at 10 a.m. The Oregon Military Department estimates that it will cost $3.8 million in federal tax dollars to pay the 200 service members over the course of 80 days. Local lawmakers and a Senate Safety Subcommittee reiterated that whatever their opinions are on this deployment, they realize the Guard is made up of Oregonians.
I hope you've heard from this side of the dais our support for the Oregonians who are following orders. These are our brothers and sisters, our family members, our coworkers, people who work with us in this building. And we recognize the situation that the president is putting them in.
KGW, by the way, also obtained a letter sent to Oregon Guard members from the general in charge of the Oregon National Guard. Now, he won't be in command during their deployment here in Portland, but here's a look at the letter. Brigadier General Alan Gronwald wrote about the task ahead, saying, quote, "I'll be honest with you. I know this isn't easy. Some people in Oregon won't understand or won't support this mission. Some might even be hostile about it. But we've been through tough situations before. We are professionals," he said, "who do our duties regardless of how it's received." He went on to write that Guard members not involved in this mission will continue to do their normal duties in the state, like responding to wildfires or storms. He also told service members it's okay for them to have strong feelings about the mission, but that they took an oath to follow the orders of the president and the governor, adding that they don't get to pick and choose their missions. You can read the full letter at KGW.com. Other city leaders around the country are condemning the growing military presence in their communities. They say the move to deploy troops is made to create fear and intimidation. The Trump administration continues to say it's about public safety. Thomas Schultz brings us more from the Portland South Waterfront.
Well, right now, right outside the Portland ICE facility along the South Waterfront, it's been pretty quiet. It's been that way all morning long. There's a little less than 10 protesters that look like they're just kind of setting up for the day right now. This all comes as Oregon state leaders are suing the Trump administration to block troop deployments here in Portland. Meanwhile, city leaders from Washington, D.C. to L.A. are pushing back too, saying the only nightmare in their cities recently was the deployment of the National Guard and federal officers.
The federal surge forces have been at soccer games, football games, in front of schools. Children have seen people kidnapped from in front of schools.
If you send military troops against the people of the United States, you are abusing your power, you are disrespecting and misusing the military and our service members, and you are wasting our tax dollars.
Community leaders in Tennessee say they're also seeing troops in Memphis. The Trump administration says the deployments are safety operations and opportunities for military training. President Trump recently defended the actions of his defense secretary, Pete Hegseth.
It's a war from within. I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military.
Now in Portland, we've seen peaceful protests for quite some time. Along the waterfront, there was hundreds of protesters joining Governor Tina Kotek over the weekend, along with Portland Mayor Keith Wilson. Here at the ICE facility along the south waterfront, protests have been going on since June. Many of those protests where they were larger and actually had more arrests were in June. We've seen a handful of arrests over the past week, but once again, peaceful down here today. Along the south waterfront, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
So this is a live picture from right outside the ICE facility near the south waterfront, and we can tell you again this afternoon that there are no National Guard members in place. Of course, we will continue to keep an eye on this situation as we move through the afternoon. Keep it right here on KGW. We'll follow the latest on the deployment of the National Guard to Portland. Continuing coverage is coming your way here on TV at KGW.com and also on our free streaming TV app, KGW+. World-renowned scientist and animal advocate Jane Goodall has died at the age of 91. Dr. Goodall is best known for her groundbreaking research on chimpanzees. The Jane Goodall Institute says she died of natural causes today while visiting California on a speaking tour. That same tour brought Goodall here to Portland earlier this year when she spoke to students at Lincoln High School.
When people come to me and they've lost hope, the main thing is, okay, you can't solve the problems of the world, but you can do something in your own community.
Coming up later here on the news at noon, we'll take a look back at Jane Goodall's life and her impact. Right now, though, we're going to take a quick break from our news headlines. Rod Hill standing by there in the Weather Center. Yeah, big news.
What a life,
for sure.
Right? What a life.
And she's been to Portland many times, but again, that latest visit, a chance to talk to students there at Lincoln High School.
All right, thank you, Drew. Well, we had some rain early this morning. Speaking of Portland specifically, and then we were dry for a couple of hours, and then the rain moved back in around, well, what, 9:30 or so this morning, and now it's been raining ever since then. You can see on the radar there's a few scattered showers starting to pop out east, and you folks do have a thunderstorm threat, but most of the rain is this band that has just been moving south to north and nearly stationary with slight movement off to the east. So the big task for me is to tell you when Portland and Salem will get the next batch of some drying. Right now, you can see it's just wet all the way down past Grand Ronde. So I looked at several models, and all of them like what you're seeing here, and that is the steady rain that's over Portland and Salem right now, breaking up and finally moving off to the east somewhere around 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I'm telling you that Salem, Portland, there could be steady rain at least for another 2 hours and maybe another 3 before that gets out of here. After that, it looks like a decreasing scattered shower pattern into this evening. Now, behind that one rain band, the coast is pretty dry right now. There's Lincoln City, Schnickwin's Casino Resort camera, but there's the rain in the state capitol and the rain over downtown Portland. Looking up over the Moda Center, 62 is the number. We'll get some dry time, it looks like, a little bit later this afternoon. That will allow temperatures to warm up to about 66 degrees. Lots of dry time on your 7-day. That's coming up, Drew.
All right, more from Rod a little later. We want to get back to our news headlines here. A vote to end the government shutdown failed this morning as Democrats in the Senate held firm on their demands about health care funding. This is the first government shutdown since 2018 during the middle of President Trump's first term. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest for us from Washington, D.C.
With the nation now plunged into a government shutdown, leaders of the two parties are in their corners showing no signs of negotiating.
They have taken the American people hostage in a way that they think benefits them politically.
They're afraid of the truth. They know that what they've done to health care has decimated health care.
Last-ditch stopgap funding votes failing in the Senate, with Democrats holding out to restore health care cuts and extend Obamacare subsidies.
Premiums and copays and deductibles are about to skyrocket, bankrupting many Americans.
Republicans argue those discussions can wait, voicing pessimism about the current standstill.
There literally is nothing to negotiate. They're bringing in extraneous issues that don't have anything to do at all with keeping the government open.
Despite the shutdown, Social Security, Medicare, and VA benefits will continue along with student loans. But national parks could close, and roughly 750,000 federal workers could be furloughed. Many more, including TSA agents, required to work without pay until the shutdown ends.
We're looking for bombs, weapons, stuff like that, and you can't miss, right? So you don't want officers with added stress of how am I going to pay my bills?
President Trump raising the stakes, reiterating his threat of mass layoffs while blaming Democrats.
Cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like.
Democrats adamant those cuts are already happening, pushing for leverage now.
They've got to sit down and negotiate with Democrats.
As the nation waits for what's next. As for how long this shutdown will last, it's anyone's guess, but given the lack of negotiations right now, no reason to believe it's ending anytime too soon. The longest government shutdown was during President Trump's first term. That one spanned 34 days from late 2018 into early 2019. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
The Federal Administration for Children and Families is investigating Oregon's policy on LGBTQ+ foster youth. The policy requires prospective parents to agree to support LGBTQ+ children. The investigation appears to stem from the case of Jessica Bates, an Eastern Oregon mother who sued the state 2 years ago, saying that the policy violates her rights to free speech and religion. That case is still moving through federal court. Cuts and changes to SNAP benefits in the U.S. by way of President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill are starting to get phased in. So the Oregon Human Services Department says that the changes will mainly impact 3 groups of people in the state: those who get utility assistance, those with no children who are able to work, and refugees or other lawfully present immigrants. Anyone applying for SNAP at this point will have to meet the new requirements. Other people will be notified of eligibility changes within the next few weeks. Opening statements are expected today in the trial of a Portland cannabis shop employee who's accused of killing 2 suspected robbers. 24-year-old Jason Steiner has pleaded not guilty to multiple charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. Prosecutors say he shot through a window at the LaMotta cannabis shop last October, killing 2 men and injuring another. Steiner claims he acted in self-defense. Oswego Lake is back in the news today. The Oregon Health Authority issued an advisory for the lake because of toxins in the water produced by algae blooms. They say people should avoid swimming in the lake, along with other water activities. They also say people and pets should not drink the water. We know that dogs can get extremely sick and even die from exposure to algae bloom toxins. And the health authority says people should not eat any fish that's caught in affected areas of the lake.